Kobe pledged he acted with integrity, never straying from what's right. I wouldn't dream of crossing their boundaries. But now, leaked accounts from hotel staff uncover the truth of that night in Colorado. What surfaces about Kobe Bryant is poised to shatter the image you held of the Black Mamba. I have all the details. Let's dive in. The startling confession. An employee from the hotel has finally spoken out about the true events of that night. 2 decades after the pivotal incident at the Cordillera Lodge and Spa, a documentary from 2025 has brought to light police interviews that unveil the unsettling reality behind a notorious case in sports history. The 19-year-old front desk attendant who showed Kobe Bryant around the opulent Colorado hotel on June 30th, 2003, had no inkling that she was on the brink of being thrust into a legal scandal that would shake the sports community greatly. However, in this matter, the claims fall significantly short of legitimacy. The allegations made here are unsubstantiated and without credible evidence. Kobe Bryant did not harm the young woman. Yet, what's even more startling about this disclosure is its profound implications. Recent revelations are surfacing, shedding a more troubling light on the events that unfolded in room 35 that evening. The staff's testimonies, alongside previously unseen evidence, uncover a troubling trend that delves much deeper than previously thought. This incident was not isolated. It forms a piece of a larger, more malevolent puzzle. The repercussions of this evidence extend well beyond that fateful night in Colorado. Court filings and law enforcement interviews uncover a deliberate series of actions that imply forethought instead of impulsive behavior. Bryant's asserted management of the scenario, from preventing hotel staff from leaving to directing cleanup afterward, highlights a degree of cunning that suggests prior experience. This was far from the clumsy attempts of a novice perpetrator. It was the calculated tactic of an individual who knew precisely how to control and overpower their victims. It is especially unsettling that the accounts provided by the hotel personnel seamlessly coincide with various other testimonies that have surfaced over time. Various accounts have portrayed Bryant's intense desire to dominate social settings, whether it involved emptying entire residences at gatherings or accompanying himself with large security teams. This behavior indicates a continual need to orchestrate situations that allowed him to maintain control over susceptible individuals. As we near the 3rd anniversary of Bryant's passing, the timing of this information is deliberate. A focus campaign has sought to polish his image and establish him as a cultural legend. However, the bravery of hotel staff who are now voicing their experiences risks dismantling this carefully crafted story, prompting us to face the troubling reality of Kobe Bryant's true character in private. The moment of this disclosure is incredibly timely. It emerges just as Kobe's legacy is being honored like never before, with Warner Brothers gearing up for a major biopic and numerous tributes casting him as a resilient hero. Yet, what if everything we believe about that evening is fabricated? What if the reality is far darker than anyone would want to consider? I find it hard to grasp the objective here, at that moment, because the significance of the objective resonates with the genuine culture too. They understood Michael Jackson's importance. When a helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant tragically went down on that Calabasas hillside on January 26, 2020, the globe grieved for the loss of a sports legend. Amid the sorrow, a shadowy dialogue emerged, one many prefer to avoid. The 2003 sexual assault case, once nearly erased from memory, was abruptly brought back into the limelight, sparking intense and harsh reactions. The uproar intensified when Gayle King, during her interview with WNBA icon Lisa Leslie, posed the question that lingered unspoken in many minds. Kobe's legacy became entangled in complexity due to the 2003 charge, igniting a storm of criticism and threats directed at the seasoned journalist. If his involvement in the WNBA were to be fully acknowledged, it was said his legacy remained tainted by the assault charge that had been dismissed in 2003 and 2004. Do you find it challenging as a woman and a WNBA athlete? I don't find it challenging at all. The response was swift and brutal. Half of the public took to social media to condemn Gayle King, deeming her inquiries regarding the rape case unsuitable, while Snoop Dogg escalated his verbal assaults. But what was it that drove so many individuals to stifle any conversation about that night in Colorado? The key to this situation lies in grasping the depth of the harm caused by the truth. The testimony from the hotel staff wasn't solely focused on a single night of alleged assault. It revealed a troubling pattern that reshaped the public image of one of America's most cherished athletes. To fully appreciate this disclosure, we must revisit the summer of 2003 when Kobe Bryant, then a 24-year-old star of the Los Angeles Lakers, went to Edwards, Colorado for a knee procedure. The individual making the accusations was a 19-year-old hotel clerk from a privileged background, grappling with mental health challenges. The events that unfolded next would draw extensive legal examination and media frenzy. In her police interview, the accuser recounted how she accompanied Bryant to his hotel room and returned approximately 15 minutes later at his invitation for a tour of the amenities. She was allowed access under the guise of a customary hotel walkthrough, with claims that would overshadow news headlines for over a year. The account from the staff member was hauntingly detailed. She recounted how initial consensual kissing swiftly progressed into something far more ominous. She alleged that Bryant obstructed her escape, throttled her, fondled her, and coerced her onto furniture for roughly 5 minutes of vaginal intercourse. Despite her continual pleas and efforts to escape, what happened next was even more troubling. The plaintiff stated that Bryant cautioned her against speaking out and insisted she clean her face and arrange her hair before she departed. Such actions are not typical of someone who thinks they participated in consensual relations. Instead, they reflect the deliberate actions of someone aware of their wrongdoing. The tangible proof was just as damning. A nurse's assessment uncovered several vaginal tears and a minor contusion on her jaw, indicative of recent violent trauma inconsistent with consensual sexual activity. Bryant's t-shirt showed 3 small blood spots that matched her DNA, offering irrefutable evidence of the events that transpired in the hotel room. Kobe Bryant intends to enter a guilty plea. He will seek to have this case presented to a jury in Colorado. His argument is that the incident on June 30th in Eagle County was a sexual interaction between 2 willing individuals. Bryant's first reaction to police inquiries was significant. He initially refuted any sexual contact, but upon facing evidence, he later confessed to having consensual sex. His narrative shifted considerably when he understood that the physical proof made denial futile. What adds to the unsettling nature of this case is Bryant's account of his actions during the supposed assault. He acknowledged restraining her neck from behind during the encounter, referring to it as a preference from previous consensual situations. This wasn't just a fleeting lapse in judgment. This reflected a recurrent trend of hostile sexual actions that Bryant openly admitted to. No, let's find out if anyone else feels the same way. He's seething with anger at himself. He must be the murderer. 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 Ultimately, the case was dropped when the person making the accusation, enduring severe harassment and threats to their life, chose not to proceed. Bryant released a statement to the public recognizing the accuser's contrasting view, although he did not confess to any wrongdoing. Nonetheless, the harm was irreversible. The hotel employee's account had uncovered an aspect of Kobe Bryant that society was unprepared to face: the cycle of betrayal. This hotel episode was not an isolated occurrence. It merely scratched the surface of a deeper issue, an ongoing series of sexual improprieties and marital infidelities that would shadow Kobe Bryant's personal life for many years. What the hotel employee disclosed regarding that evening in Colorado was startling, yet it is minor when weighed against the extensive revelations of Bryant's sexual misconduct that have recently surfaced. The findings indicate that Bryant's betrayals were not mere instances of poor decision-making, but rather a recurring behavior that persisted throughout his marriage to Vanessa. Various reports and whispers point to the possibility of numerous affairs, with certain sources asserting that more than 100 women were involved during their time together. These claims were not just gossip from tabloids. They represented serious accusations that ultimately prompted divorce actions and a highly visible confrontation. The extent of Bryant's purported unfaithfulness becomes increasingly unsettling when the timeline is examined. The incident in Colorado took place a few months after the arrival of his first daughter, Natalia, in January 2003. Here was a newly minted father who was engaging in actions that not only betrayed his wife, but could also inflict emotional distress on an unsuspecting hotel staff member. Former NBA player Sebastian Telfair shed light on the audacity of Bryant's alleged infidelities. Telfair asserted that Kobe had an affair with one of Vanessa's acquaintances, recounting particular events where women would vanish for extended periods, only to reappear in upscale residences. Telfair narrates a tale of strategic manipulation, depicting how Bryant meticulously sought out and sequestered women for long-term liaisons. What is particularly striking is the manner in which these relationships unfolded. Telfair indicates that Bryant's interactions weren't merely casual flings. He went as far as to sever women from their social networks, placing them in luxurious settings while exerting total dominance over their existence. One account mentions a woman who disappeared for 8 months, eventually found residing at the Palazzo and among affluent Angelenos. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated game of manipulation. The mental toll of such actions on Bryant is evident when reflecting on the shift brought about by the 2003 incident. Gary Payton, who guided Bryant through that challenging time, noted that the accusations fueled Kobe's intensifying paranoia and unpredictable behavior. Payton remarked that Bryant's response to the dishonesty surrounding the Colorado affair revealed significant psychological scars. That was the reality, plain and simple. When faced with accusations, it's natural to feel the need to defend yourself on multiple fronts, convinced that everyone is after you. Payton's insights painted a vivid image of a man truly terrified by the repercussions of his choices. He recounted how Bryant would journey with several motorcycles for protection and display reactions indicative of someone aware of their misdeeds. Such actions didn't belong to an innocent individual. They emerged from a person who fully grasped the seriousness of their predicament. We arrived at training camp, and he had 5 motorcycles flown to Hawaii, each one trailing behind him. He was off riding and acting all paranoid. His behavior was not limited to just cheating. It revealed a troubling need for control and manipulation. Payton recounted moments when Bryant would arrive at events with security details, effectively dominating the spaces and pushing everyone out while performing thorough security checks. This conduct implied a person who was perpetually anxious about getting caught and the ramifications that could follow. They would invite everyone over to their residence. They'd suggest, let's visit that place. They'd run a security sweep to ensure all was secure. They'd then allow the group to return here. What is particularly unsettling is how Bryant's testimony exposes his thoughts in intimate moments. In his police questioning, he recounted that gripping women around the neck during sex was a preference of his, and he confessed to asking the woman from Colorado if he could climax on her face. This was far from affectionate. It exemplified an aggressive need for control that favored his satisfaction over his partner's comfort or agreement. The consequences for his marriage were catastrophic and enduring. In 2011, Vanessa initiated divorce proceedings, pointing to irreconcilable differences largely linked to a pattern of infidelity. This decision wasn't made lightly. It followed years of continual shame and trust violations that culminated in this decisive action. The legal battle uncovered the true scope of Bryant's purported infidelity. During the process, media speculation suggested a multitude of affairs, with unconfirmed reports indicating that Vanessa suspected Kobe had around 105 interactions with various women. Although these figures might be exaggerated, they indicate a repetitive conduct that extended significantly past infrequent errors in judgment. It truly tests your identity as an individual. Enduring such experiences with family members, both separately and as a unit, is a major ordeal. For the current organization and my fellow teammates, it was incredibly challenging, prompting a need for deep reflection as we faced multiple struggles simultaneously. You find yourself navigating through the chaos, seeking clarity amidst the turmoil. Bryant's statements exposed the mental strain of living a dual existence. During discussions, he conveyed the struggles he was encountering and the chaos he had wrought. His choice of words hinted at a man acutely conscious of the harm he inflicted, yet feeling helpless to halt it. The most heartbreaking part of this situation is its impact on those uninvolved, especially Bryant's kids. Reports suggest that the strain from the Colorado incident played a role in Vanessa's miscarriage in 2005, a defeat that Bryant himself linked to the intense scrutiny and pressure from his legal issues. This situation extended beyond merely impacting adults capable of making their own decisions. His conduct was inflicting direct harm on his own family. What heightens the troubling nature of Bryant's behavior is the apparent intensification of his controlling impulses over time. Gary Payton's comments on Bryant's growing paranoia and his demand for extensive security measures indicate a person developing more refined techniques for manipulation and control. The shift from an inexperienced athlete prone to errors to a shrewd planner of interactions signifies a deeply unsettling change. The psychological profile revealed in these narratives portrays an individual who regarded women not as equals worthy of dignity, but as tools to be controlled and exploited for his personal pleasure. The account given by the hotel staff member regarding that incident in Colorado aligns seamlessly with this broader pattern. It wasn't a random act or a fleeting misjudgment, but rather the inevitable result of a mindset cultivated over many years. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect is how Bryant was able to isolate these actions while preserving his public persona as a committed family man and advocate for women's sports. This level of deceit points to an individual not only capable of such actions, but astute enough to conceal them effectively while simultaneously enhancing his public persona. The testimony from the Colorado hotel staff member transcended a single evening of alleged assault. It unveiled a long-standing pattern of conduct obscured from public scrutiny for years. The findings imply that the events in that hotel room were merely a fragment of a broader context involving sexual misconduct and marital infidelity that characterized Bryant's life during his marriage, legacy, and eventual downfall. The staff member's account of Kobe Bryant's actions that day has unleashed a torrent of revelations, potentially reshaping our perception of one of basketball's most iconic figures. As fresh information continues to surface and the public's perspective on sexual violence and power relations shifts, the carefully crafted portrayal of Bryant as a reformed family man and advocate for women's sports is disintegrating rapidly. The timing of these developments is particularly critical, coinciding with Warner Brothers' plans for a significant Kobe Bryant biopic and several documentaries examining his life and achievements. There appears to be a deliberate push to solidify Bryant's legacy as that of a hero who triumphed over challenges. However, what if this narrative rests on a precarious base of falsehoods and concealments? The backlash following Gayle King's attempt to address the 2003 incident underscores the lengths to which many will go to safeguard Bryant's reputation, even at the expense of stifling vital discussions surrounding sexual violence. The Intimidation King face for merely posing a valid journalistic inquiry illustrates the extremes to which Bryant's admirers will go to stifle any conversation regarding his purported offense. He's viewed as a decent individual, just like you perceive. What else do you wish to find out? Now that he's out of the picture, who stands up for him now? Public sentiment dominates the conversation now. However, this defensive reaction sparks concerning inquiries about our society's readiness to face difficult realities regarding cherished figures. 50 Cent's claim that talking about the case was wrong, as Bryant is no longer able to speak for himself, overlooks that the accuser has never been given the chance to share her narrative without enduring harassment and threats. The implications of these findings go well beyond Bryant's individual standing. They compel us to address challenging issues regarding our admiration for athletes and celebrities who might have engaged in significant wrongdoing. The account given by the hotel employee regarding that evening in Colorado transcends mere historical intrigue. It reveals the sinister aspects of fame and the manner in which authority and status can be employed to mute those who suffer. It's evident from any perspective you consider. The purpose remains elusive to me. I fail to grasp how one can. People often appear better when they're not around, don't you think? They continue engaging with those who are absent, which can truly affect you negatively. The #MeToo initiative has significantly shifted societal perceptions regarding accusations of sexual violence, especially against influential figures. In 2018, Bryant was taken off a film festival jury amid renewed focus on the 2003 K, indicating that even prior to his passing, there was an increasing acknowledgement that his purported offenses couldn't be brushed aside or overlooked. The hotel staff's revelations are particularly incriminating, as they resonate with the established patterns of Bryant's actions. The aggressive sexual behavior he recounted to authorities, the ongoing infidelities during his marriage, and his anxious responses to the accusations all contribute to a narrative that starkly contrasts the heroic image created around him. Is it appropriate to revisit these issues now that he has passed, considering they have been settled, or do they remain a part of his legacy? I believe the media ought to approach this matter with greater sensitivity. If there were inquiries, the years prior offered ample opportunity for them to be addressed by him directly. I believe we shouldn't allow this to overshadow his legacy. Lisa Leslie's perspective that the media ought to show more respect and not let the accusations tarnish Bryant's legacy reflects a significant misapprehension of how to handle sexual violence claims. Just because the criminal case was dropped due to the victim's decision to not testify doesn't imply that the accusations were untrue. It indicates a failure within our justice system to protect a vulnerable individual effectively. The credibility of the hotel staff's testimony is bolstered when considered alongside the physical evidence from that evening, including the vaginal injuries, the blood present on Bryant's shirt, and the bruises on the victim's jaw. All these details lend credence to the accusation that the events were violent and lacked consent. However, the most alarming aspect is how Bryant's own statements contradict his assertions of innocence. His confession to law enforcement about favoring neck-holding during sex indicates a person who embraces forceful, domineering sexual actions. This was not a matter of misunderstanding. Rather, it points to someone who frequently partook in actions that many could classify as assault. We plan to give him an introduction that isn't overly aggressive. Approaching it this way simply doesn't feel appropriate. The long-term effects of this information are monumental. Recent debates regarding Bryant's place among the elite players will be recontextualized when considering the accusations against him. How can we honor the sporting accomplishments of an individual who might have acted as a repeated offender? The hotel employee's disclosure compels us to reckon with painful realities regarding the treatment of sexual violence accusations within our culture, especially when they involve cherished figures. The ability of Bryant to sustain his career, achieve titles, and create a billion-dollar empire while his accuser remained largely unnoticed highlights the significant power disparities that facilitate such wrongs. Sebastian Telfer's call for people to refrain from criticizing Bryant illustrates a widespread hesitation to grapple with the implications of these allegations on his legacy. However, this deliberate ignorance ultimately undermines both the alleged victims and the societal strides being made to combat sexual violence. The hotel worker's account of the events in Colorado transcends a single incident. The goal was to unveil long-standing behaviors that remained concealed from the public for years. The findings indicate that Bryant's overtly sexual actions, his recurring unfaithfulness, and his controlling demeanor towards women were incidents within a broader pattern of exploitative conduct. It's important to accept that reality. However, we cannot just dismiss the matter as Lisa Leslie might propose. The disclosure from the hotel employee requires us to confront the complete truth of Kobe Bryant's character. Beyond the polished narrative found in documentaries and tributes, evidence points to an individual who, beneath a meticulously maintained public persona, exploited his authority to prey on vulnerable women. This reality profoundly alters our perception of Bryant's legacy. His efforts in promoting women's sports, his bond with his daughters, and his Oscar victory gained new implications when contrasted with the sexual assault allegations that shadowed his existence. The disclosure from the hotel employee regarding Kobe Bryant's actions that day has shed light on a troubling episode that many wish to overlook. Yet, overlooking it does not deliver justice. It fails to acknowledge the realities faced by the accusers who have endured the fallout from Bryant's actions for more than 20 years. As society navigates the challenges of sexual violence, authority, and responsibility, Bryant's case starkly highlights the ways in which fame and fortune can obscure the voices of victims and alter public perception. The bravery of the hotel staff in recounting their experiences from that night in Colorado offers insight into the truth behind the polished persona. The pressing issue now is whether we possess the strength to face this truth, or if we will persist in clinging to convenient narratives rather than confronting uncomfortable realities. The insights shared by the hotel staff have illuminated the true essence of Kobe Bryant. The next step is for us to determine how to utilize this newfound understanding. We appreciate your viewing. If you like this video, please select one of the boxes on your screen to explore more related content.